What's going on, Wix Nation? MPS from Wix Training Academy here, and today I am bringing in a very special guest to talk about his journey and his experience with entrepreneurship. You guys asked for it, and I'm here to deliver. So today I'd like to introduce Ben St. John, founder and CEO of Authoritek. He's doing incredible things, and I even actually had the opportunity to meet him at WixCon this year. So Ben, welcome in.
Thanks very much, Michael. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So Ben, to kick things off a little bit, I'm assuming most of our audience probably is not quite sure who you are or what you do. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you've got going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess it depends on who I'm introducing myself to, what I lead with, but kind of have a few things going on. I think right now, obviously, I'm the CEO of Authoritek, which is a software company in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, we're pushing out mobile and web apps, which is a lot of fun, huge passion of mine. And then I'm also a full-time student at Michigan State University. So I'll be graduating this May. So juggling those two things alone keeps me pretty busy. And then I've got a few products kind of on the way, apps that I'm trying to launch, and a whole other slew of things that are keeping me busy right now.
That's really awesome, and I definitely feel you on the college aspect. It definitely keeps you
Oh
busy
yeah.
while running a business. That's really cool. So, how did you get into software development? As obviously that's what Authoritek is, and then we can start touching on the aspect of how you balance that with college and everything else.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm one of those, I feel like this happens a lot in the tech world, but I got started at a super young age. I grew that interest and really wanted to take a deep dive in computers, technology, all of that stuff. And, I started to learn how to code when I was 12 years old, began making, just basic websites. My church let me make them a website for the youth group. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world that something I made was live. And really soon after, I just saw that opportunity to see people's needs and be able to fulfill them. And I knew that I had skills to do that and do it well, but also that ability to talk with people and do more than just heads down coding. So I kind of took every opportunity that came my way, even if the money wasn't great. And then over a series of some people that were either huge mentors in my life or just took a chance on me, I think just a lot of things have really gone well. And now, I'm at Michigan State. I'm studying computer science to really perfect that craft, but I'm also studying business because I want to do more than just write code all day.
Right, which actually leads an interesting question. Obviously, when you're a business owner, especially in the development space, at the start, you wear a lot of hats, right? You're the developer, you're the marketer, you're the
Oh
manager,
yeah.
you're the project manager. You wear a whole bunch of hats. So, have you been able to expand and bring some people onto the team? And then the second part of that question would be, what is your favorite aspect of the business?
Yeah, well, that is a great question. So when I started Authoritek, so I've done a lot of work, before Authoritek, but that was kind of the series pre-Authoritek where I wore every single hat. And then jumping into Authoritek, there's actually a guy, he's a super good guy, name is Carlos. He was probably the biggest mentor as far as business goes, took a huge chance on me. And he started the company with me. He's given me a lot of guidance in the business. So that already was just a great person to lean on, ask a lot of good questions, but I still took the reins as far as development, going out, seeking out clients and all of that. So that was about 2.5 years ago. And that whole first year was, just trying to figure out, what do we do? What are we good at? How do we do it? And like you said, I wore pretty much every hat. Carlos helped with the business. And then I really saw a lot of good opportunity to start hiring out. And we found a number of developers that had skills, but were also autonomous where, I didn't have to hound them every 5 minutes over text and be like, are you doing your job? So by finding just the right people to do the work, that has really taken a load off of me and allowed me to do more of what I love. And I know that I love people way more than I love code and computers. Now I love
Yeah,
both, but
right.
I would much rather sit in a 5-hour meeting with someone than, sit at a desk and, push out some code. So I think moving forward, I'm trying to kind of take off all of those development hats. I still wear a few. I'm still making apps, and obviously studying computer science, I probably am not at a time ready to graduate from coding anytime soon, but that is something that's kind of what my aim would be.
Awesome. Well, no, that's super exciting to hear, and I'm glad you were able to add some team members there, because I completely understand how bogged down you can get when you wear every single hat of the business. It's a tough period of time, but it's a very telling period of time. You'll figure out, whether you're made for this or you're not during that period. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think a big part of running a business, especially once you start bringing people on, is your ability to lead. And you can be a boss or you can be a leader. Mm-hmm. And as a boss, a lot of times you have a boss that tells you to go do this thing and they don't even know what that thing is. They just know that it needs to be done. But when I know the ins and outs of the technology and the ins and outs of marketing and, writing emails, dealing with clients, if I've been there and I've gotten my hands dirty, I think I can really be a leader that, people want to follow, and I can show them and I can help them if they hit a snag. So I think that even if it's something I might not love to do, it's worth going through it now and, learning the ins and outs of my own business.
I absolutely agree. And I really liked that connection there, the difference between a boss and a leader, because there is a huge difference between the two. And one can be done extremely effectively and get people to get behind your mission and your values. The other can get people to be demotivated pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And I know you said you like to be around people, you like to get out. In fact, we obviously had the opportunity to meet at WixCon. What was your experience at WixCon? Because I know that was your first WixCon.
Yeah, no, that was a super fun event. I think definitely the biggest takeaway I got from that was meeting you along with a few other really, really strong people that, I came out of that ready to just keep going and pushing hard. But so I was actually, when I went to that, I was representing a different company that I'm kind of one of their main developers with Wix. I do a lot of Corvid development, and I went representing that company. And I also, kind of co-represented Authoritek there. And, I didn't know what to expect at all. I know from my interactions with Wix, I've done some stuff directly with the Wix team for Wix code, but I know that they're just a super nice, sweet group of people. They love to have fun. And they're just, although they're that huge company, they're super down to earth people. And I assumed the community would be the same. And I was not let down, and they definitely know how to show you a good time. It was a lot of fun.
You are not wrong there. Yeah, no, the community is made up of some really, really cool and exciting people. And you're right, Wix, just being with the people from Wix themselves, you would never be able to tell they're a $5 billion plus business.
No, not at all.
They act like you're, their friend in a backyard barbecue, it's a cool experience.
Yeah, no, I love them. I love them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I know how you mentioned, obviously you've got graduation coming in May. With that said, you're still in college now and you've started your business in college. So how has that process been? Because obviously I can speak for probably days on this, but I'm curious to hear about what's your experience as a college entrepreneur.
Yeah, so it's been definitely a roller coaster, and a lot of wise people have spoken into my life and given me some good insight and helped dig me out of a hole when I kind of got a little too stressed out and anxious. But, when I first started, I was very focused on school, and starting the business was a side thing. And that whole first year, so I'm just, as far as timeline goes, I'm doing college in 3 years. So the first year was very much school kind of on the side, or business on the side. And then my second year was when I started hiring people, and I got some real contracts, real people actually trusting me, putting some money forth. And that's when I started dealing kind of with that. I only have so many hours in the day. How do I fit in, the clubs, church I'm involved with? How do I fit in a computer science degree, which is a very, difficult thing to do, and also run the business? So, I don't think that I have the answers by any stretch, but just knowing your passion and knowing your priority and allowing yourself to do the things that give you energy. So for me, like we've discussed, people give me energy. So I'm not going to choose to stay away from my friends so I can get one more hour of work done. By going out, being with my friends, I'm going to have more energy the next day to, make that happen. So
definitely,
I think, you look at the day and there's only so many hours, but it's also, there is enough time to make it happen. It's just a matter of, are you prioritizing, and, when you're focusing, are you really focusing, or are you multitasking? And I think removing the falsehood of multitasking from my life has just allowed me to really, make all these three things happen super well.
That's super awesome and a well put answer. And I couldn't agree with that more. And you have to find, I think the key with being a college entrepreneur, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's balance. It's finding that balance between every aspect of the college experience, school, business, obviously church or youth groups, any extracurriculars. It's balance. And if you can find that,
for sure.
Yeah, you can typically achieve a much better result, because I think you and I had this conversation at WixCon, and I'm personally not afraid to speak about this. If you'd rather not, no worries. But I went through a period of time for a couple of months, kind of like you mentioned, where you kind of get in the dumps a little bit. And I went through a very anxious time just because I was so on edge with business, school, friends, extracurriculars, everything. It became a lot. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Last year, my fall semester really hit me hard. Just a lot of schoolwork that I could just kind of feel was unnecessary. It was just grinding out homework and all this stuff, and it just felt so unnecessary to do. While also work was stacking up, relationships were, either going south because I wasn't nurturing them with my time, or just the natural way some relationships go. So
of course,
all three of those things, I had no real goal or direction for how I wanted to attack that. And I think that, when you open that conversation about balance, people think, oh, balance. And they look at, oh, what does Casey Neistat do? What does the next YouTuber do, or the next blogger do that they find their balance? And while I think there is a lot of good insight from them, everyone's balance is different, and it's based on what your goal is and what your passion. And for me, I've had to realize that my goal is to, I'm kind of a family man. I hope one day I can have a family. I'm not trying to be rich by any standard. I want to have enough money to, support the life I want, but I'm not trying to be a multi-millionaire. And by realizing those goals, writing them down, and having something to aim for that is my own thing, not someone else's thing, that really helped dig me out of that time of comparing. It's actually a quote that I had written down in my bathroom in my dorm, and it's awesome. Teddy Roosevelt. It says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think that you go on social media, you go on YouTube, you don't even realize it, but you're constantly comparing yourself to the success and happiness of others. But you realize what you're shooting for, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even going in the right trajectory of that. And you change that aim, and all of a sudden you just live a lot more joyful of a life by doing that. And it allows you to pursue your business and your life and relationships so much better.
Yeah, no, I think that is extremely well put. I love that quote, by the way. I couldn't agree more. And something that, I've determined over the past couple of months is I've found a few ways to scale back on certain areas. Like, I just kept worrying about, I want to grow faster. I want to grow quicker. I want to be here. I'm frustrated that I'm not where I want to be. And then I realized, took a step back, and I said, is it really necessary for me to be there at this moment? Why am I rushing the process? Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough because you set goals, and obviously they've got to be realistic to a sense. And when you're not exactly where you want to be, it can be irritating. And then you do start to go out there and you look at the Gary V's, the Casey Neistats, and you're like, well, I want to be there. I want to be here. And then you start comparing. So I couldn't agree with that quote more. And another thing I really found is that I often see a lot of people, and this isn't necessarily a comparison per se, but I see a lot of people go out there and they do immense amounts of research on, the Gary V's of the world. And what they do is they consume so much of that content and they talk a lot about being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. But the problem is research is only half the battle.
You got to do it.
Implementation is the second half, right? And I'm curious, do you find that to be true?
Oh, yeah. No, I find that to be true just so much. People love to talk the talk, and when someone's kind of living in that Gary V echo chamber. And, I don't want to knock him. Obviously, he's successful and he knows what he's doing. But, I think that many times, I've done this before where you're just like, oh, man, like Facebook ads, you got to hit Facebook ads. Well, it's like, have I even put out a Facebook ad? Why am I talking about it? And why am I not doing it?
Right.
So, yeah, I think that it can become almost this dangerous thing where it's that paralysis by analysis where you overthink everything and all of a sudden you're doing nothing and you're too afraid to fail. And I think like the number one, and this is super cliche, I don't think I'm saying anything profound here, but you aren't going to succeed until you fail a lot. So you might as well get started early failing.
Yeah. I love that you just brought that point up because number one, I stand behind that. Number two, I was going to address, obviously, it's not like we've been in business for 20 plus years here, but I can certainly say that I've had my fair share of flops and failures. And I'm curious to hear if you've ever experienced any failure, whether that be, a major business flop or even something minor, and if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there was a few minor things where, just starting out, I got a few contracts and I began working on it, and I either didn't deliver the product that they were hoping for, or it just, I finished and all of a sudden I didn't have the time or the skills to make it get to that next level. And it's just, it stinks to put a bunch of time and effort into something, know someone put money into it, and then you're not even proud of the work that you made. And I think that's like more than anything, even if like the loss isn't terrible, that's a huge failure in my eyes. So I build off of that and just always shoot for the, the next best excellence. How great can I do my work? And another big failure, I would call it a failure, but looking back, I'm super, I see the way things played out. And I think that's how failure always works, is you look back and you realize that you needed that to learn from it. And I had just this amazing contract from a distant friend of mine. He set a huge contract in my lap, which was much bigger than myself, probably, I would say 50 times more money than I had been making on any other contract. And, my company at this point was kind of me, myself, and I, and just the random contractors that I could hire off of Upwork when I needed an extra hand. And this guy comes to me and all of a sudden I'm in need of 8 developers to tackle this project with a tight timeline and a huge budget. And I can't say much about it because they went with someone else and they're in the process of building it. But I agreed to do it because I saw the shiny price tag. And I immediately started digging myself in this hole of, not telling lies, but definitely over promising. And I knew that I would come up short, but I kind of was telling myself the lie of I could make it happen because I wanted the money. And, I failed to get that contract, but now looking at it, that would have really squashed my business. I don't think it would have been sustainable enough. It would have been too stressful and I'd probably be done with all of it at this point. So super grateful for the way that it played out.
And it's funny how hindsight's 20/20, right? You look at it and it becomes crystal clear. But I think even bigger, what you brought up there is sometimes you need to have the power to say no. Saying no is just as much power as saying yes, because in your case, there was a huge shiny price tag attached to it. And listen, I mean, regardless of what anybody says, when someone sees that price tag as a business owner, you want to go after it, especially if you're new. But if you ended up with that contract, like you said, you could have squashed your business before it even got started because, number one, you didn't have the proper infrastructure in place. I'm assuming if it was me, myself, and I. And you would have been just killing your personal time trying to get a project done and fulfilling most likely promises that were overpromised as compared to underpromised and overdelivered. So it would have been a really tough situation. So I'm happy it played out for you. That's obviously a good opportunity to learn, as I like to look at all failure as an opportunity to learn rather than a bad thing. I don't think failure is a bad thing. Would you agree?
No, I completely agree. And I don't know if you were referencing the book, The Power of No, when you were saying that, but
I was not, but I have read that book.
You have read the book. Yeah. And that's just one of those, I think reading is very important to me because, I'm still a kid. I just turned 21 last weekend. So, I'm
Happy
not
21st.
Hey, thanks, man.
No problem.
Yeah. So you gotta realize people have been through stuff. People have learned from failure and learned that saying no has some value to it. And you say yes to too many things and you put yourself in sticky situations. So I'm fortunate enough to say that I'm in a place of my business where I can afford to say no. Because I'm sure you've been in a place where you're starting the business and someone's like, can you make me a $500 website? And you're like, well, that's really not worth my time, but sure. I mean, I need to build my portfolio, or you're a friend of a friend, so why not? But
exactly.
You start to respect yourself by saying no.
Oh, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, time is the one asset you can never get more of, right? Time is, sure. It's not unlimited, so you have to value that. And if you don't value your time, you'll likely get yourself into sticky situations. So you're absolutely right with your reference. In the beginning, don't get me wrong. It's okay to be able to go out there and, try to pull as many projects as you can to build up that portfolio, like you mentioned. But when you get in a position where, you're weighing between a $500 project with not the most high quality client as compared to waiting a little bit longer, but taking on that $7,000 project with an extremely high quality client, you're better off just saying no to the smaller project and doing your process until you hit the bigger fish there. And that's just valuing your time.
Exactly. And I think almost on the flip of that, not to counteract what we're saying and make it super confusing, but
of course,
I think there's also a big part of my business has been not taking myself too seriously and taking my time too seriously, in the sense of, someone approaches you, maybe a smaller nonprofit, and they need some work done, give them a discount, say yes to their contract, or maybe just, if they need 4 hours of help, just give it to them for free.
Right.
And, that might not be the best business decision, but we're all people. And sometimes it's going to help your business more to just be a person, be kind to someone. And, truly, I know some of the most successful people in Grand Rapids doing software, they spend their weekends just doing pro bono work for nonprofits. And like, I can't, I respect that so much. And, I know that I'm not doing enough of that. So I think saying no is good, but also not taking yourselves too seriously is a good part of that balance that we discussed earlier.
I absolutely agree. And in life, just in general, being able to have a sense of humor, enjoy yourself, and not always be so uptight, it's important. It's just good for your health. It's good for so many reasons. So you got to be able to value your time, but also, like you said, be a little bit loose with it as well, in the sense of don't always be so uptight.
Absolutely. I can't agree more.
Definitely. So this is super exciting. And like I said, going back to this May, you said you're graduating. Do you have any post-graduation plans for the business, for yourself? Anything exciting on that front?
Yeah, well, I mean, this past fall was kind of that decision point of, do I pursue my company or do I take a job? And computer science is a difficult field to do that in when, people are waving big offers in your face. And, right now I'm making enough to live on and enough to live happily on, especially as just like a single guy, but probably not as much as, people are offering me to live down in Texas or live in California. So I wrestled with that conversation a little bit of, do I accept a job? Do I move? How do I go about this? And I'm super excited to kind of made that decision of just, I'm going to push through. I'm going to take this risk because I want to live, I've got the rest of my life to work a job if it all comes crashing down. But
Right.
having faith in myself and taking that risk, I believe you only regret the things you don't do, not the things you do. So I can't live the rest of my life having a business that's going as well as it is and just living in fear going a different way. So I'm excited to just, I guess not announce, because I don't know if any of your subscribers even know who I am, but
either way,
just announce to the people in my life that that's kind of the next phase is, graduating, living in Grand Rapids, and really just growing the company. I'm hiring a couple people full time in the next,
awesome.
In the next few, like 5 to 6 months. So just a lot of things moving in a very, very positive direction that, I can't be happier about.
That's super exciting. Number one, congratulations for that. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Of course. And then number two, Wix Nation, for you out there watching, let's drop a like for Ben, and let's also comment some support for Ben. I mean, that's an exciting time. I mean, this is anyone that's been through it. Maybe there's people watching that haven't been through that college period or on their own path. Maybe you've already been through it, but that period between college and what's next, that's a big decision. So being able to support someone on that journey is super exciting. So yes, congratulations on that, Ben.
Yeah, thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course. So you're going to pursue the business. I couldn't agree with what you said more about, if all really did come crashing down, the business failed, you had to shut it down tomorrow. You've got a background, a knowledge, and understanding in computer science that you can go out there and obtain a job. But why force yourself to do that right off the bat? If you have some of this free time to go out there and risk it a little bit, you don't have a family yet, you have these opportunities to be able to put some risk on the line. So I think that's really, really exciting. One of the things I would ask, especially for Wix Nation community here, is what would be one of your biggest tips to an entrepreneur that's looking to start? What would you tell them?
Yeah, well, I think right as you were kind of finishing off with what you were saying about me, I'm an ideal entrepreneur right now because I'm 21, graduating college, very, very good backup plan, no kids, no ties. I can move anywhere, do it on my computer. So, people look at me and they're like, well, I'm a 36-year-old mother of 3 and I want to start a business, but I don't have the time or the money to just dedicate and take that big of a risk. And while I can't personally attest to being a 36-year-old mom with children, I think just from a lot of conversations, I spent time at not an incubator, but a co-working entrepreneurial space this summer, learning from a lot of people who, were doing entrepreneurship and really pursuing it. I think one of the big tips that I got from these people that, was a discussion was that entrepreneurship, a lot of people are going to tell you, if you're not full in, if you're not 100% risk it all, it's all or nothing. My family's going to live on the streets so I can push this new, Uber for cats app out. It's like, that is not that is not 100% of what entrepreneurship looks like. No. If you're doing this and you've got a job and you spend 4 hours a day or 4 hours a week, making something cute and selling it on Etsy, you're an entrepreneur. Start small. And if it gets big, more power to you. Maybe you don't want it to get big. Maybe you just want to make some money to fly your family down to Florida once in a while to escape the cold,
Exactly.
Entrepreneurship comes in all shapes and sizes, and kind of back to that original statement of, comparison is the thief of joy. People are like, well, how am I going to scale? How am I going to, push out these ads? Well, do you want to scale?
Right.
And can you, is it time? Maybe it's not time right now. And, if you do, there's a lot of resources out there. I think the internet has opened just hundreds and hundreds of doors. I'm sure you've learned so much just off the internet.
Insane amount.
Oh yeah. And there's the internet, and more so there's people. And, probably the biggest thing that boosted my business was just reaching out to people on LinkedIn that seemed like they were in a similar position. Maybe they won't give me business, but just having a coffee, having a conversation with them, maybe learn from them, let them learn from you, and grow a relationship, because you never know where that's going to go. So that's kind of my tips I would give anyone watching that's considering entrepreneurship or in that space at all.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I like the reference you had there with the 36-year-old mother, 3 kids. And as my father always tells me, people have the opportunity to make a living from 9 to 5 and build a fortune from 5 to 9, right?
Yep,
So
I love that.
It goes back to the old adage there. And the truth behind that is so powerful, because you're right. An entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to risk it all, put it all on the line, live in a box on the side of the road with your laptop just so you can try to make it out there. That's not how it has to work. I mean, if you decide to go that extreme route, all power to you. But that's not the route I personally wanted to pursue. And if you're starting out and you're experimenting, you want to get into entrepreneurship, you want to have that life of freedom and control, then do it on the side. You're able to still make your living all day and spend just a couple of hours, either each night, each week, whatever that may be, learning and implementing. Because as we mentioned earlier, it's only so good to learn if you can't implement. There's only so much. So that's excellent advice. So with that, Ben, it sounds like, you've had an exciting run so far. Sounds like you've got an exciting next chapter. Are you excited? Are you excited for what's next?
Oh man, I'm so pumped. I'm more than excited. I'm also excited to finish finals in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be great,
I couldn't agree with you more there. Oh man. Finals really give you a run for your money, huh?
Well, that's the thing, I am excited, and it's like I said, it's the roller coaster. Right now you see the haze. There's just life gets in the way, but you realize like I'm going after something I've been passionate about since I was 12 years old. When I was 8 years old, I was already starting a leaf raking company. I was the guy. I invented the portable lemonade stand where I threw it in my wagon and biked around the neighborhood and flipped it upside down and started selling lemonade. I love business and I love people, and I'm doing that now. I'm about to graduate college and do that for the rest of my life. So sometimes I forget how excited I am for it.
Yeah, so, it's nuts. Yeah. And like you said, you practice it. I still remember those days of mowing lawns or going door to door trying to sell cookies at Christmas.
Oh yeah.
The Nike Elite socks, you remember those?
Oh yeah, I remember those.
I used to take those with my buddy and dye them in the backyard and go sell them for a profit. So the dyed Nike Elite socks.
Wow, I love it. Always hustling, man.
Always hustling. And I think just as an ending topic, because I'm actually curious, every time I speak to someone that's entrepreneurial, I always wonder, because I know I've got my own thoughts and reservations on this. Do you think entrepreneurial traits are built into you, or do you think they're learned and acquired along the way, or both?
Yeah, I love that question, and I've answered that a few times, and I think every single time I answer it, my answer changes. So ask me in 3 weeks and it'll be different. But
right,
I think that you are born with an innate ability to interact with people more. I think you're more of an entrepreneur, or more of an introvert, more of an extrovert. You're more you think this way, business minded, or you're more techy. All these different things you might be more predisposed to, but I don't think anyone can, hard work beats talent every day of the week. And if you go, oh man, like I'm never going to be able to learn to code, or never going to be able to learn to start a business because I just wasn't born with it. It wasn't what I was gifted with. And I want to just like cut that idea out. That's not a thing. If you want it, you can go and get it. So it's something that it might be easier for some people. And I know we had that discussion with just school. For school, we have to work a little less hard than other people. And I count that as a major blessing in my life.
Absolutely.
But there's people who get better grades than I do, and they just got to work harder for it.
Right.
So, hard work beats talent. So that'll be kind of my answer for that one.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think it is a fine balance between the two. And I think you put it perfectly. So with that, Ben, do you have anything you'd like to share with Wix Nation? Any exciting projects you've got coming up, where people can find you, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I would love to. So I'm kind of the social media hermit. So you might find me on Instagram or Twitter. I haven't like deleted the account, but I don't use it. So don't come looking for me. But I'm just actually this week launching a big app that my little brother and I kind of thought of the idea together. And then a friend of mine at State, we raised some money to, build the app. It's called Master Q. So master with the letter Q. And it's a way for pretty much, if I've got my phone and I'm having a party or I'm on a road trip, I've got my phone plugged into the aux. Well, everyone wants a song request played. So what I do is I start a party, a Master Q party, and everyone either like in my area around me, they can see, oh, Ben's got a Master Q going, and they can go onto their app and go through their Spotify library and just add songs to that queue, and it all plays on my phone, and it works for like big parties, road trips, bonfires, what have you. So I hope it becomes successful. I'm excited to launch that, but yeah, I guess we'll see. So if you're once it's out, I'll share the link with you, but it should be coming out tomorrow or Friday. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Well, let me tell you, number one, absolutely awesome idea. I can't tell you how many times that presents, you think of a problem in a party sense or a road trip sense, and that's totally a solution. And it's really cool. So number one, awesome. Number two, Wix Nation, you heard it. Ben has Master Q coming out. I'll put the link in the description as soon as Ben goes live with it, so that way you guys can go check it out. So that is really, really cool. Is there anywhere else that they can find you to get more information about what you do? Obviously, Master Q is coming out, but anything over and above that?
Yeah, no, I love to take phone calls and talk with people that have any questions. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Ben St. John, ST.JOHN. You can find me on Facebook, and then, I don't really know what other social media channels I'm on right now. You can find my Authoritek website with a little bit more information just about our company. If you know someone that wants to build an app, that's what we do best. So you can connect with us there as well.
Definitely. And I'll throw all of your socials and your website down in the description below. So if Wix Nation wants to contact you, they can get a hold of you. But that's absolutely awesome, Ben. And I just wanted to, number one, thank you so much for the interview. I think this has been, I've watched a lot of interviews in my time, trust me. And I think this has been pretty insightful. And I think it's going to be a cool experience for the Wix Nation community. So thank you very much for being on.
Yeah, you bet. I had a lot of fun. So thanks for thinking of me to be episode number 1.
Absolutely. That's definitely. And you did a good job with it, I'd say. We'll see what Wix Nation feels. So obviously, exactly. Wix Nation, make sure you click that like button, comment any questions you may have for either myself or Ben. I'll be sure to communicate with Ben, and I'm sure, Ben, you'll follow this. And if people have some comments, would you be open to answering some of those?
Yeah, for sure. As long as they, knowing that they go to Michigan State, just hold off on the U of M, MSU comments. I don't want to hear it. I've had enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You've had a long semester so far, so we'll stop those comments.
Exactly. Leave me alone there. Take it easy.
Cool. And Ben, I don't know about you, but I think anyone that was watching this should hit that subscribe button. What do you think?
I can't agree more. I'd make multiple YouTube accounts because, you're not going to get more valuable knowledge than from Michael over here.
Oh, geez, I appreciate that. So, Wix Nation, you heard it first from Ben. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn those bell notifications on so you never miss any awesome content, including interviews like this with Mr. Ben St. John, founder and CEO of Authoritek. Other than that, Ben, once again, I appreciate you spending some time here on Wix Nation. And I appreciate the Wix Nation community for watching episode 1 of these new interviews with fellow entrepreneurs. It's been an awesome experience. So thank you again, Ben.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Wix Nation, I'm heading out. Ben did an awesome job. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on our next piece of content.